had a note that in really difficult situations, individual versus a group or a subgroup versus the major group that it's part of, rejection of something that you continue doing may build up such pressure in those that object that they become extremely ungodly towards you, and you get the outcome as in the Jesus story. You get crucified for it. So you have to be wise. If you want to be crucified, well, okay. I mean, in a sense, this was Jesus' choice in the situation. He chose to let them do it. And in the story, thank goodness. It's not, therefore, the thing for you to do in reality, necessarily, by any means. What do you wish to achieve? Well, you wish to achieve a harmony. Well, you may receive much better harmony by just leaving. If these are principles, or some sort of principle that leads to an activity that is causing such hostility from the group, well, perhaps it's just best to not be in it. Move away. Individuals that could leave the group and join you, if you may be a breakaway group, fair enough. You set up another church down the road, whatever it is, organisation, preferably not just down the road, far enough away not to have an eternal conflict between you and it. Don't deliberately tread on the toes of the organisation that you're leaving, unless there's extremely good reason for doing so, and you're willing to take those costs. Or you may find, no, this is just not on. You remain in with the group, and you cut it out to some extent, whatever it is they don't like, or you do what they do like. It depends which is going to be the greater cost here. Now, this depends on what your values are and what your goals are. If your understanding is that your God is all-powerful and all-loving, and that this is the way to serve him, to love him, and follow him, that will affect your decision. In other words, you might even prefer, living in the wilderness, with all the difficulties that might imply, rather than suffer the difficulties of being with the group. That's a decision you might make in the extreme. You might not. You'll choose the mode of behaviour that brings the most harmony as you see it. But as you see it might be very dominated by your view of what your God is. So you will be mostly influenced accordingly. And that sounds to me as though it means you'll separate yourself from the group. So we now know why people leave friendships, relationships, be it with an individual or group or even culture, and move countries and so on. And we also know why they might be staying despite having to compromise. Maybe a more acceptable outcome to you as regards difficulties of living and so on. And that will depend on what your values are. It's as simple as that. Bless you. Thank you, Dad. don't know, here the situation may be that, like with a divorce, you've got someone you need to protect, the kids, so you can't move completely away from each other because both have societal rights to parenthood, and you might feel it's a disaster for the kids to lose one of the parents unnecessarily, even if they're hostile to you. You still separate yourself to the extent that you can, but bearing in mind the cost to the child. How much do you cooperate with the ex-partner to meet substantially the needs in the situation that you can meet for the child or children? And you know, in our Western society, you get something like a parenting order from the court, and that specifies some better situation than the parties continuing to war over this. Neither party might really love the parenting order, but it's better than no parenting order. And the war continues, or the separation is disastrous, and that the child loses one of the parents unnecessarily. And of course, the best outcome depends on whose point of view you're looking at it from, and you may be the sort of person that's trying to look at it from what you understand God's point of view is, and you act accordingly. Certain points might be that, well, your God is ruler of all, and he has got this situation for whatever reason. What seems to be the most godly thing to do in the circumstance, and that will depend on what your view of godly values are. You might, as has been the case in history, be in a society that has certain evils, as you see it, like children doing chimney sweeping, or people being enslaved, or all sorts of things. You may feel it's very right to crusade within the society to get these things changed, and you may make some very real enemies in doing this. But despite that, you may stay and continue to be a trouble to such enemies, despite the cost. You may feel you're minimizing the cost in not doing evil things to your enemies, of course, so that they are aggrieved more than they need to be, but they may still be enemies, even so. And you'll have to take that into account, namely their likely reaction and the harm that they then do, as part of the mix in the decision as to whether you continue to crusade on behalf of these minority groups that need protecting or not. And we see some people in history as being very courageous in doing so, and actually being greatly harmed as a consequence by those that don't want them to do it. If you feel that God is calling you to do such, then you will. I would question quite often whether he is truly calling you to do such. It's just possible that your antagonism of a situation makes it worse, not better. Or there may be ways of doing better within the society in some way. I have in the back of my mind that my general thing that this universe is a mix of good and evil, that we may learn rather than achieve. It's our becoming, not our doing. We're not here to turn it into paradise. God has paradise already. He has a universe of good and evil because it's ideal for training us to become godly. You may say, yes, for instance, I could practice crusading in it and possibly getting crucified. Okay. I don't think that's what God is actually wanting of you, his children. That's my view. But I understand why you are attempting to do and achieving to some extent what you do. Bless you.